Let's start. Welcome back to the Shine Within podcast. I have a lovely guest here and I love her energy already. So, living in the heart of Los Angeles, Sherry Diamond, by the way, I love that diamond part, is not just a wellness enthusiast. She is a beacon of hope for those seeking a healthier path. 6 years ago, a pre-diabetes diagnosis acted as a wake-up call. Not one to be deterred, she embarked on a transformative journey, shedding an impressive 103 pounds. Through rigorous research into food, inflammation, and the underlying causes of major illnesses like high blood pressure and diabetes, she unearthed the secrets to genuine health. This led to the creation of the Balance for Life course, which is designed to educate others about the power of informed food choices. Continuing on this trajectory of promoting wellness, Sherry Diamond introduced the world to Everything is Nuts on August 7th. This clean eating product is not only a delectable cereal, but also doubles as a versatile topping, perfect for ice cream, yogurt, pancakes, waffles, fruits, puddings, or even just a simple snack. As Sherry Diamond approaches her 70th birthday, you look beautiful, by the way, this October, she stands as a testament to the wonders of commitment, research, and the right choices. In the best health of her life, physically, mentally, and spiritually, Sherry Diamond's journey is a resounding message. It's never too late to embrace a life of wellness and vitality. Thank you so much, Sherry, for joining me today.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you.
I am excited too, because we were just talking and I was like, oh, I love her energy. Can you just share your story and what was a red flag for you to be like, you know what, I need to go ahead and make a change in my life?
Well, really, there's been a couple of times where I had a little wake-up call. It happened once when I was in my 40s and I was very overweight. I was walking up the stairs to my apartment and I actually was out of breath for the first time. And I thought, oh, this isn't good. So, I did a little changing, but not enough to really make a significant change because I wasn't ready. And then fast forward to when I was 64 and the doctor said, you're pre-diabetic. And I felt this like punch right in my gut because all I could see was my mom. My mom died of pancreatic cancer, but she had diabetes. And she took care of herself, but not in a way that she should have. And that scared me because one of the things I never wanted to have to do is give myself any kind of shots because I'm terrified. I don't even like going to the doctor and getting a shot because I can't look at them. So how am I going to give myself one? So I thought, I went home and I kept saying, this isn't going to happen to me. This is never happening to me. So I opened my laptop and I start looking around, like you said at the beginning, about what causes inflammation and disease. What causes diseases? And the word that kept coming up is inflammation. And it took me back for a minute to a few years before that. I had a bad rotator cuff. And I started looking at that and it said you should eat blueberries and strawberries and antioxidants. And that's what I did. And honestly, between that and exercising correctly, I cured my rotator cuff. So I thought, if I could do that, I can do this. And fast forward, I started introducing and implementing what I was reading. And I started losing weight. I couldn't believe it, but I was losing weight in a different way. My body was looking leaner. I didn't have that pouchy belly like I used to. And it was because of the foods that do not cause inflammation that I was putting in my body. So then you start losing weight and people are like, oh, you look amazing. Well, you know what? Nobody ever asked me, how do you feel? I felt amazing. And to this day, I feel amazing. But it was up to me because I knew at 64, if I didn't change right now, there is a point in your life and your age where when you've wreaked havoc on your health for so long, you can't turn back. And I said, I'm not doing this. So I turned back and I did it. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to turn this into a course and teach other people how to do it because getting older is not a death sentence and you don't have to take medication. I'm really proud to say I'm going to be 70 years old in 2 months. And the only medicine I take is for my thyroid. That's it. I don't take anything else. And I'm like, I wake up every day and I'm like, let's go.
Yes, and that's how I wake up every day. Let's go. And because I was struggling with drinking and I used to be 210 pounds and didn't
That's
really,
so hard to believe.
yeah, and I didn't even pay attention to my weight at the time. And my health, of course, was deteriorating because I was overweight and had poison in my body and was just not caring. And I had told you I was even a weight loss consultant for a very popular brand
Right.
weight loss company. And I did see a lot of people, would come lose weight, but then they would leave because they think they could do it on their own or they didn't follow like the maintenance program that we offered. But they would come back and and lose a little bit and then come back. So I would see the same repeating clients. Now,
You
my,
know what's really funny?
yeah,
I was one of those people.
so me too. I actually, that's why I started working for the companies because I did the program. But of course, I gained weight, and then I'm like, well, if I work there, maybe I can just stay skinny forever. That's not true. I noticed that the foods that were available were all packaged, which was nice because you did learn about portion control. However, they weren't the proper foods that are fresh that we need in our body. They were
Right.
all preservatives. Now, I was going to go ahead and ask, what other things have you tried in the past that has not worked out for you? And then what made you said, you know what, I want to go ahead and do my own research and figure out what types of foods are best for myself?
Well, the word inflammation is what really scared me because it makes sense when you think about it. If you're eating things that are not good for your gut, the two words that we hear a lot is gut health and microbiome. And the one that you should be paying attention to is your microbiome, because that is what your gut health is about. So, like for me, I was constantly eating things that had a lot of sugar. I was addicted to sugar. And after a while, those foods, they don't they don't really properly break up in your body. So they're stored in different places, in your fat cells, in your gut, in your microbiome, all that stuff. And where do they go? They go nowhere. So they stay there and they stay there and stay there for years and years. And after a while, it's like being in a congested, it's like a traffic jam. Do you know what I mean? Your body is in this traffic jam that can't get out because there's no way out. So what happens is you start going to the doctor and they're like, oh, you're pre-diabetic. Oh, you have to take high blood pressure. Oh, you might have this, but they don't tell you what to do to stop it. They want to give you medicine. And the doctor never said, you know what, Sherry, here's what you need to do to not be pre-diabetic anymore. She just said, look, I really think you should start eating better.
Hmm.
Okay, well, what does that look like for somebody like me? She didn't tell me because they don't know. I mean, they do know, but they don't teach it. So I decided that I'm going to go look into it. And I did. So if inflammation is the key, then the next step is, what are those foods? And it was so clear that sugar was number one. Your fat intake you need, but it has to be limited. You have to eat fresh food. Packaged food, all it has is sodium. And sodium and fat and sugar all added up are not good for your microbiome. So it's a process. And I was interested enough that it was worth all the research. And I thought, what's the worst that can happen? And then the next thing you know, I'm losing weight. So I was like, okay, this works. And I know people that even if they stop eating bad food for 7 to 10 days, they already are feeling better.
Absolutely. And then I feel like you have more clarity, you have more energy. You're ready to like take on the world when you feel healthy. And the key word is healthy. Now I have this cute picture and it has a bunch of like fresh fruits and vegetables all across the rainbow, different colors. And then it says your pharmacy with the F instead of your PH pharmacy. It's a pharmacy like farm, like, the cows in the barn.
Right. But
And
it
it's so
is.
true because medicine is, or food is our medicine. I think naturally, like I've been on this whole, I love cooking fresh foods. I'm always cooking like Indian food because my husband's Indian. And so
Oh,
I
nice.
love like bringing in that fresh ginger, the fresh garlic, the fresh everything, and just making all these fun dishes. And it really is worth the time to cook fresh rather than feeling miserable after you've had a fast food meal or something that makes us feel so weak all the time.
Well, you said something really important. You said how you feel after you eat fresh food. And really what happens when you get rid of inflammation, people don't realize it until you actually do it. But the inflammation is not just in your system, it's also up here in your head. And when you are free of inflammation, you start thinking clearer. Like you just do. I did. I mean, I could tell the difference because there were times when I could tell I was like in a brain fog, and food would sometimes I would eat certain foods and it would just put me down. And now that I don't eat them, I always have this energy and I wake up with lots of energy and I'm really happy because my insides are happy. And so, like I told you at the beginning before we started the podcast, my thing is really about, it's not just about eating the fresh food and thinking positive and living a healthy life, but it's also about living your life from the inside out, because we're so programmed into how everything looks and what everybody thinks. And it's like, who cares if you're not healthy? I mean, if you don't like me or I don't like you, does it matter if you're not healthy? No. It matters if what matters is how you feel, not what the court of public opinion says. And that's part of our problem in our society because we're constantly criticizing everything.
Absolutely. You bring up a really good point, and I wanted to go back a little bit because you mentioned the doctors and how they're not there to really help us. I feel that this is a disease management system that we have, and they don't actually get to like the root causes of why, um, or perhaps like giving us like even a meal plan of what to properly eat or what to eliminate. Like they don't really help us in that aspect. How are you the differentiator when it comes to helping people, lose weight or just feel better?
Well, here's the thing. I always say Balance for Life, it's not a lose weight program, it's a feel better program, because once you start getting healthier and your body starts changing, what happens is you look at yourself differently. Do you know what I mean? You
Yeah.
don't look at yourself the same way because you feel different. And it really is a different feeling. So, like some people say, oh, well, you have to eat bread. No, you don't. You can eat other things that replace the bread because you'll feel better after a while. So for me, I've always been like this my whole life. I don't listen to everything everybody tells me because everything isn't always correct. And what you do for your life might not be good for my life. So
Exactly.
what I tell my clients when they first start, a lot of them, they're not skeptical about trying the program. They're skeptical because they don't believe in themselves.
Hmm.
And so it's up to me to show them through eating the correct foods and other things why their health is going to matter at the end of the program, whether it's 6 weeks or 12 weeks. Do you know what I mean? And so I
Totally.
give them little tips about what to do and what not to do. But usually I'll tell them, look, just go on the program for 10 days. And if in 10 days, if you've done everything I told you and you don't feel better, then there's something drastically wrong. And I'm usually correct. I mean, they will feel better.
They will. And they always say, after a certain age, after like, is it mid 30s or even when you start turning 40, it's difficult to lose weight. But obviously, you've lost a tremendous amount of weight and you were in your 60s, right?
Right. I was 64.
64. And so, I mean, that's just proof right there that, hey, no, you can lose weight at any age, not just because
Well,
your
because you
metabolism is
know what I
working.
used to say? Yeah, well, it's hard for me to lose weight like other people because I have a thyroid problem. So that was my
Oh.
crutch. But then once I went on this program and stopped eating things that were causing inflammation, I lost weight in 18 months. That's never happened in my lifetime. And I've kept it off.
Hmm.
And people say to me, oh, well, don't, how could you be happy when you don't ever eat ice cream or you don't, but I eat other things that satisfy me. I love chocolate. I mean, I don't care what it is. If it's got chocolate on it, I'm there.
I do.
And I eat all kinds of things. I drink alcohol, but I drink the right alcohol, but I don't drink all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe I drink once every 2 or 3 months. But if you have to go to a bar every night and drink, or you need to go out and eat cake every day, or eat ice cream like I did all the time, you can't have both.
Right. Right. You can't because then, I mean, excess of whatever, whether it be alcohol, food, is just going to add up. And then your body is
Right.
just going to say hello, because that's where we have a body that actually lets us know when something is wrong. So if you're feeling bloated every morning, really look into it. Why is that? And I always like the 5 levels of why. Is like, okay, why am I feeling this way? And well, with the 5 levels of why, I always like to say, why do I want to feel better? And then and say, because I want to be there for my kids. Well, why is that? Because I want them to see what it's like to have a good, healthy family. Why? And just break it everything down. And then once you discover your why, it's going to be easier for you to then to understand exactly why you're here on earth and how other outside things don't matter, but really what's within, inside,
Right.
like you were saying.
Yeah. So if you have to do that, you have to look within for anything to change on the outside. I mean, it just makes sense. When you keep doing that, there's that saying, if you do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and there's no change, that's insanity.
Right.
Well, I'm a very logical person and I have a very sound mind and I want to keep it that way. So along the journey, people say all kinds of stuff. Like people will still say to me, I don't understand. How do you do it? It becomes a lifestyle. Oh, I just don't have time. And no, you do have time. But if you go to the doctor and the doctor tells you you're gravely ill, do you have time then? Like, what is it going to take? And the other thing I have to say is everybody does everything in their time.
Right.
And when people aren't ready, like I wasn't ready. Look, it took me 64 years. Are you kidding? Talk about not ready. I put the R in not ready. um, but I decided, you know what? This was my do or die moment. Like I could keep going on and wind up like my mom, or I could live a healthy life. And my goal now is I want to be the first person in my immediate family not to die of cancer because
Right.
it's everywhere. And I want to live to be 90.
Yes. Even more than 90.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'll take 90.
Yes. And so I was going to go ahead and ask you, what are your top like 5 foods that is like a must, like a non-negotiable that you're like, I need to eat this every day?
So I eat every day some kind of fruit. I have to have a fruit because that kind of takes the place of my sugar or my sweet tooth. And every day I have to eat vegetables. I don't eat, I went for a long time in my life of not eating meat. And then I started a few years ago eating grass-fed beef, but now I don't eat it anymore because it's starting to bother me again,
Mm-hmm.
even the grass-fed. So I'm a pescatarian. I only eat fish. And I just, I don't really have a method because I eat when I'm hungry, but I also, something I do, and it took me a long time to do this after I lost weight. It took me maybe 2 years, but for the last 2.5, 3 years, I've been doing intermittent fasting, and people don't understand how that helps you so much because it helps you to not be hungry all the time. And you don't think about food because you don't have that rumbling in your stomach about, I need to eat something. And really, a lot of it's up here in our brain. But when you eat the right foods, and you eat the right fruits and vegetables, and you eat the right proteins, and you eat the right fats, your body is not craving anything. So you eat when you're hungry. And sometimes I go, wow, I haven't eaten for hours. I should eat something, even though I'm not hungry.
Right. And then you know how they always say, oh, make sure you eat your breakfast. I feel like, hey, I don't need to eat breakfast. If I'm not hungry, I don't need to eat.
No,
If
I
I
do. I eat breakfast, but I don't eat breakfast till maybe 11 or 12 o'clock.
That's probably what, yeah, like same thing. Like as soon as I wake up, because I wake up pretty early, I'm not hungry until like 11 o'clock, almost noon. So it's like my breakfast is like more like a brunch.
Right. And you know what? That's really smart because I'm glad that you do that. That's really, really healthy. But what I was going to say is that's why I created my everything is nuts cereal and topping mix, because when I was losing weight, there was nothing except eggs and vegetables and maybe a little bit of almond butter and fruit. Nothing satisfied that crunchy cereal morning thing. And so I went in the kitchen and I started playing around, and it took me a long time, but I finally perfected the recipe. And then this year I decided to launch it.
Oh, that is amazing. Yes, I'm gonna have to try that for myself because I
It's
mean,
so good.
you can put it on different things, and those are certain things that you put on your food that kind of fill you up too. It's not only good for you, but it'll you won't be as hungry afterward.
Right. And you know how, like, when you go to a restaurant or you go to a Mexican restaurant, you eat chips and salsa and you
Yeah.
have that crunchy, 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 and it always satisfies you. That's what this does, because that crunch is what gives it everything a little bit of pizzazz. And it's made of only, I mean, I won't tell you the secret ingredients, but the main ingredients are pistachios and pecans, and they're very good for you. They help fill you up and they're very calming. And that's why I called it Everything is Nuts, because I
Yeah.
developed it during the pandemic when everything was nuts.
I love that. I feel like everybody has been, since the pandemic, I know there's been some, like I have had family members pass away from COVID. But I
I'm
feel like
so sorry.
yes, but I feel like everybody has been taking the time for themselves to discover their passions, their gifts, and everything. And so that's something that I've done too. I've learned, like, oh, wait, I don't have to just be a massage therapist, forever, or that weight loss consultant I was talking to you about. But I can do what I want to do, which is to help others and coach others. And speaking about like coaching and helping others, what types of programs do you offer for your clients?
So the Balance for Life course, it's a 6 or 12-week course that you can sign up for. And prior to signing up, I do a consultation with people for free, because I know if people are ready or they're not. And I don't want people to spend their hard-earned money if they're not going to be diligent on the program. And you can tell when people are constantly pessimistic and they're, okay, well, I don't know, but maybe I'll try it. Or they're sitting with their arms folded, like, okay, whatever, right? And you'd be surprised. There's people that I tell them, I don't think you're ready. And then maybe a couple of weeks later, they'll say, I thought about what you said and now I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're ready and you want to go on the program, what we do is I send you a food list. And on our first session, I go over the entire list, where you can buy things, what to buy, how do you prepare it, what's the best thing. Like, I go through everything. And people who are on my program, I send them recipes when if they don't like to cook or they're not sure what to make. I have a bazillion recipes. I also post them on my Balance for Life group on Facebook, so you can get them for free. Not all of them, but some of them. And then every week, what we do is we do what anybody would do. We talk about how was your week? What did you discover? Did you have any problems? Because a lot of times the problems are not about the Balance for Life program. The problems are up here, the way we think in our head, or they're because the people around us don't like that we're changing. So they want us to feel bad that we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people, look, this is a program where you're going to eat better and feel better, but it's also a mindset program. How do you feel about yourself? What do you want in your life? And somewhere you have to take charge and stop letting other people dictate how your life will be, because that's what stopped me.
Mm-hmm.
And the third component is we get into, in about week 3 or 4, how you're socialized as a child with food. That's a huge component about how we look at food, because
Mm.
it was for me. And that was one of the big keys for me, besides the diabetes diagnosis or pre-diabetes. Those were the things that really kept me on my journey.
Yes, and I remember because they would always tell my parents would always say, make sure you eat everything off your plate.
Oh, right. Because the kids in Europe are starving. My grandma said it every night that I left something on my plate. And then I turned out to be a chubby kid. And then they would say to me, oh, I don't think you should eat that cookie because you're getting too fat. How would you like that when you grow up listening to the word fat? I did.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so now it's like, when I think about the things they told me when I was a kid, honestly, if I listened to everything, I'd be curled up in my bed in the fetal position, never coming out ever, and being depressed. And I didn't let any of that stop me, because I felt like always inside that I had some worth. I just had to go on a journey with myself as a child and as an adult to find out what that was. And I did.
And you did. That is
But
amazing.
see, that's the thing most people don't do. They don't look inside.
Yes. Absolutely. And like you were mentioning about the friends that are, well, supposedly your friends. I wouldn't really call them your friends because they're the ones that should be supporting you the most. Like you're on the sidelines cheering you on, like,
Right.
hey, hey, let me help you. How can I support you? But they're like, well, why are you doing that?
Right. Why aren't you eating that? Oh, just have a bite.
Yeah, especially
And
at family functions.
all that is just make me feel better that I'm not healthy. That's the translation. And I don't care what people say, and people get mad when I say it, but that's the truth.
It
And you know
is the
what?
truth.
Everybody wants the truth. I say it all the time until we give it to them.
Yes, I know. I know. I noticed that too. People are like okay with hearing what they would want to hear, but once they hear the truth, they get like, no, or they have to like
Well, you know
pause
what I
and step
do?
back.
When people say, just tell me the truth, I go, yeah, that's not happening. Because if you really want the truth, I'll tell you. But I am not telling you the truth. And you're going to spin this around and make it about me, because then I'm out and we're done.
Right.
So you got to be ready for the truth. And people are like, okay, but they don't really want to hear it, because everybody wants to hear what they want to hear. I mean, look around us. Look what's going on around us in the world. People aren't paying
Yes.
attention.
Yes. That is another podcast show that I always talk about worldly things that are going on here that people like, open up your eyes, people,
Well, I
what you
say
can
it
do
all the
that.
time. The world has ADD. Nobody's paying attention, and they
Nobody's paying
listen for
attention.
a minute and then it goes away, and then we're done. We heard it, and now 5 minutes later, it doesn't even penetrate anymore.
Yeah, so it's the conditioning. And we're talking about mindset as well. Like what types of mindset shifts? I was gonna say the other word by accident. Do you shifts, not the other one? Do you normally have your clients um that you teach your clients, I should say?
Well, one of the things I teach people is the two things that will cripple you in life are fear and ego. Because when we're afraid of things, we don't want to step forward and change. And if we don't change, nothing gets better. If you stay the same, nothing changes. It's like it's like a revolving door. It's like we're going like this. Well, I don't want to change. Well, you can't get to this point if you don't. Well, I wanted to be thin. Well, how do you do that? You have to change. You know, I want to learn a new language. Well, how do you do that? You have to change. You have to take a course. You have to do, you know what I mean? Everything is about change. And that's one of the things that I think most people are afraid of. And the other thing is that your ego is like, you don't want to admit that other people might have the correct information. And those are the things that are going to stop you from moving forward, because they did for me. As soon as I learned, and I ask myself this all the time when things happen even on a daily basis, is this in my control? Because if it's out of my control, I'm done. Because when I was younger, I realized now, or in the last few years, I was constantly wanting to change everything that was out of my control. That's impossible. That's how we become crazy in our head. You have to dig in. And if it's out of my control, people say things to me or do things to me. If it's not in my control, I'm not getting upset about it, because it isn't about me.
Mm-hmm.
And I stand firm on that. And I have to say, a lot of people don't like it.
Yeah, they have to learn the hard way. And just like, well, I had what was my wake up call when it came to drinking is that I had pancreatitis. Like I didn't even know
Oh,
what was going on. That was like
the
the
worst.
worst pain I've ever experienced, but
Oh,
besides childbirth, in my life.
it's horrible. I know people that have had it. It is horrible.
Yes, and so it sent me to the hospital, and then that's where the doctors said, like, you need to stop drinking, period. No, like moderation or anything. You're done. I said, yes, I'm done. And then that's what they detoxed me and everything and gave me a special diet for my pancreatitis. And then I was like, I'm done with alcohol.
Do
That's
you
it.
miss it?
And, oh, heck no. The thought of it, I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna tell you a story. So I said this on my other podcast too. I went over to was it a friend's house, and there was tiramisu, and I love tiramisu, but it
Ah, who
was
doesn't?
drenched in alcohol, like drenched, like literally I was eating it and I took a bite, like, oh my goodness. Literally was so sick for at least, I
Wow.
didn't throw up, but like was sick for the rest of the evening, and that was it. My body naturally rejected it. It knows like, hey, I don't want this stuff is not supposed to be inside me. I'm not going to feel good. So that's what happened.
Yeah, I am not, I've never been a big drinker, but in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, let's go out and have some drinks. But I'm like one, maybe two, because after that, I'm no good. But what I've noticed over the summer, well, actually, for about the last 7, 8 months, I have been like once in a while drinking alcohol, maybe once every 2, 3 months, but I kind of not liking it. And so I haven't been doing it. And now I kind of save it for a special occasion.
Yeah, like my mom, she never drank. It was like be like two sips every 2 years or something, once in a while. Moderation's good, but that for some reason it wasn't how I was. I had to like it was all or nothing. But now it's like I feel so much better mentally, physically, emotionally. Everything about me after kicking off that is so much better. And same thing when it comes to weight loss. Once you've weight loss and actually lifestyle change, I should say. If once you change
Right.
your lifestyle and get rid of all the things that are causing bloatiness, headaches, foggy head, all the symptoms of ick, I should say, you will feel so much better. So I am so happy to have you on here because I think people need to people need lifestyle change, especially around this time right now.
Well, and as you get older, little things start happening, and you have to pay attention. But when other things are going wrong inside your body, and then you have aches and pains or other things come up, it just kind of monopolizes the situation. You know what I mean? It makes it more intense. And for me, I mean, yeah, I go hiking and walking all the time. So maybe once in a while I'll have a little pain in my leg, but it isn't because my body's in pain. It's because I did a lot of walking or hiking. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean? But
naturally
I'm not
sore.
alarmed. Yeah, I'm not alarmed like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? I don't have that. Like I don't wake up in pain. I wake up so happy and healthy, like I told you, and I'm like every day, I'm like, okay, let's go.
Yes, yes, I love that. And so what would you tell the audience, like the five things to get rid in your pan of 5 things to get rid of that's in your pantry?
In your pantry, I would say get rid of everything that has too much sugar, anything that has added sugar. And that's one of the keys. Something could have 0 or 1 gram of sugar, but underneath it says, oh, there's 4% added sugar. Well,
Mm,
now we have more sugar.
okay.
So throw away that. If you like to cook and bake with flour, you should make sure it's always almond, cassava, coconut, something healthy, because regular flour, bad.
Yeah.
Thumbs down. I would say get rid of any of the oils that aren't healthy, like canola oil, or um, any of those like Crisco oil kind of thing, and replace it with avocado oil, coconut oil. Even a little healthy butter is better than canola oil. That's
Mm-hmm.
really the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that's number 3. Number 4 is in your pantry. There's so many things in your pantry that are good that you should probably start using, like more spices and herbs and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. But I would say the flour, the oil, the sugar, oh, and canned food. Get rid of the canned food. Honestly, it's so bad for you. I don't care if it's peas in a can.
Mm-hmm.
Don't eat it. First
Yes.
of all, peas aren't good for you either, which is not on my program, but that's another story.
Yeah.
Um, like anything in a can is awful.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't bought canned food in years
Yeah.
for anything. And I would say that you should replace your milk and dairy, if you have to eat it, with coconut milk, almond milk, healthy milk, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big dairy person. Every once in a while in a recipe, if it calls for coconut milk or almond milk, I make it, but I don't drink it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I have my cereal, I put a couple of drops just to get it wet, because I want the crunchiness. I don't care about the liquid.
Mm-hmm.
So those are kind of the things I would say to get rid of.
You make a good point because I love crunch too. And I like when I make my smoothies, I like a little crunch in there.
We
Now,
can put it on top.
yeah, exactly. Put it on top too. Because there's something about the texture and the crunch that is very satisfying. I notice for myself as well.
Right. And that's the thing when you start really eating healthy and you play around with food, not only food, but herbs and spices and how things look and feel. You start combining foods together that one is texture, one is flavor, and the combination of foods. I mean, really, I can say that I love food now more than ever in my life because before I was just eating because I was eating.
Hmm.
And now I'm eating more mindfully and it tastes better.
Yeah,
Isn't
it
that
tastes
crazy?
better. Yeah, it is crazy. And then you feel better too. Like we're starting to
Right.
grow, we have a little garden now. And so right now, okra's growing right now. And then I just making homemade pickles. So I have my cucumber and it got
Oh, how
spiky. So
fun.
I kind of have to shave that off. But then I chopped off, right now it's in my refrigerator and made my own
Good for
pickle
you.
juice and like fresh garlic I put in there and I love playing with the herbs and spices. They're so much
It's
fun.
fun.
Mints in there growing. So I get excited when I have like fresh produce because the stores, like, they're spraying stuff sometimes too on our vegetables. So I have to be mindful of all these things. Where are we getting our produce from?
Right. And
And
washing everything when you bring it home from the store is so important.
yes, my mom always has this like vegetable and fruit wash. So
Uh-huh.
she washes on her fruits and vegetables all the time. So it gets that coating off there, like that wax that's on that apple. That's so not
Exactly.
good for you. Yeah, so little things like that will help get rid of those things. But fruits and vegetables are like my favorite and I love them. And just eating healthy, of course. And like you said, the whole intermittent fasting, like the resetting, I love that too because we've been doing some fasting ourselves for like a day and I actually feel more energized the next day even though I hadn't eaten in like over 30 something hours. I feel like tremendously like I feel
Wait,
great.
do you do intermittent fasting for 30 hours?
Oh, so I do 2 days a week that I don't eat out of 7 days. And then sometimes I'll do intermittent fasting, which then I only give myself a certain time frame from like say like 12 o'clock to 6 p.m. to eat. And then I don't eat for the remaining of the time until
Why
I
don't you eat for 2 days? That's
oh
insane.
I know I'm drinking a liquid and it was more like spiritual things for me.
Okay, because that really isn't good for you. Honestly, what you should try and do is eat every day, but do your intermittent fasting for 14 to 17 hours. So
14,
like for
17.
me, I usually eat around anywhere between 11 and 1.
I
So if I
see.
eat, let's say I eat at noon, I stop eating around, I try to eat within a 5 or 6 hour period, all my food.
Yeah.
And then I stop eating at 6 or 7. And then I don't eat again till the next day.
Yeah, let me
And
try
then if
that
I'm
too.
going out somewhere at night, I won't eat until 2, 3 o'clock. So then I have a bigger window to eat.
Yeah.
And then when I come home and go to sleep, I won't eat again till 1 o'clock the next day because I'm still intermittent fasting, but I got to go out and eat and enjoy myself.
Yes. And that's what people think like they have to like isolate themselves when they're trying to change their eating habits. And it's
Nope.
not true. You don't have to. Don't have to miss out on fun, like you said, chocolate or things like that. You don't
Yeah,
have
you can go out to
to.
eat, you can have some alcohol, you can
Yeah,
have some chocolate. You just have to know what the right stuff is to have and when to have it. That's all. And it's really simple. Once you internalize it all, like I don't go to a restaurant and go, oh my God, what am I going to eat? But I'm already like, okay, if they have fish and vegetables, I'm good.
exactly.
And of course,
Exactly.
if they have a little tequila, even better.
Yeah, you can everything, it's just how much and how often do you have it? So,
Right.
well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would like to share? Is there any upcoming projects, courses, or initiatives that you're excited about?
So the thing I'm excited about now is when I launched Everything is Nuts on August 7th, last week, there is a liquor store in my neighborhood. The man tried it and he loved it and he placed an order and now he's selling it in his store, which I'm like thrilled about because it's only been a few weeks. So what I'm doing now is I'm looking for places in my neighborhood that I can partner with. A lot of places are having a hard time making money since we have this big actors and writers strike and people are not spending money. So I'm all about sharing the gift. So I'm trying to find restaurants and places in my neighborhood or in LA that I can do a pop-up event for Everything is Nuts. So we're going to be doing that probably sometime in September. And then other than that, that's really what I'm focusing on, and getting more stores and more people involved, and just sharing the gift of health with everybody. It's really fun.
That's so awesome. Yes. And where can people find you or follow you?
So you can follow me on Instagram at share the gift, SHER, like the first few letters of my name, the gift. I have a balance number 4 life course on Facebook. You can follow my group, or you can just go to sharethegift.com and read about me. Right now, we're getting our online store set up for Everything is Nuts. So it's a process. Everything doesn't happen all at once. And that's the process that we're working on right now.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sherry. It was so nice to meet you.
It
Thank you
was so nice to meet you. And I hope we can talk again, because I really want to talk to you about something really cool.
Absolutely.
All
Thank
right. Have a
you.
beautiful day. And thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.